I mean, it's always the craziest and most wild things that happen to this franchise.
True,
but that's exactly
you should have known
what
that was
we're
coming.
talking about. I should have known it was coming. Well, how do you want to start? Do you want to start with the original? Do we play?
Yeah, we have it, and we're going to play
Brady
a little
Quinn
snippet of what Brady Quinn said.
Okay, I think that's fair.
And to give everyone context, Brady Quinn hosts or is a co-host with LeVar Arrington and someone else on a Fox Sports show.
Right.
The topic of Deshaun Watson came up yesterday. Deshaun Watson's quarterback coach Quincy Avery responded, but here is initially what Brady Quinn said, at least a snippet of it. We're not going to play the full 4-minute clip. You can find that on our Twitter page if you want. But a little snippet of what Brady Quinn said that then led to an argument online. And you can play it.
He's actually the one that's basically reporting on his health to the media, which I find to be peculiar.
Everyone else with a medical opinion just clears him pretty much. I mean, it's like, well, it's kind of similar to this. You get a kid who gets a trust fund, right? $230 million. Then he's like, hey, you want to go out and get a job? He's like, not really.
No.
I've got $230 million coming. I'm good. That's what it kind of feels like. Like it's human nature, by the way, too. For if you win the lotto and you end up netting $230 million, because we always talk about the Powerball and all that, like you'd probably be like, yeah, I'm good. I'm probably not. I'm probably not going to do this anymore, right?
So you're saying.
It went on for about 4 minutes. I think that the original line that certainly ruffled the feathers of Quincy was that he's basically the one that's reporting on his injury. Everybody else in the medical community says he's cleared to play. Guys, I think that goes back to what I think are competing factions here. The Browns and their management need him on the field to keep their jobs. And Brady Quinn got one thing right. There's no urgency for Deshaun Watson to do it. Now, to make the leap of faith that he's just not doing it because he doesn't want to do it, that is where I thought it was a personal character assassination, and that was unfair.
Well,
before you go, do you want to go through the whole exchange real quick so everyone has the full context
go
before
ahead.
we dive in?
Quincy Avery is Deshaun Watson's personal quarterback's coach.
Yes.
Right.
So
he works with other quarterbacks, too.
He does.
He runs the QB Academy. After that initial quote, Quincy then quote tweeted that exact clip, and I'm going to bleep out the curse word here, but you can take it full. He said, Brady, I'm going to be real. You don't know what the F you're talking about. And sit behind our microphone, gossiping like a little high school chick. Then they went on a little back and forth. Anthony, you can take that whenever you're ready here. Brady said, come anytime you want to talk in person, open invitation. Quincy said, I just seen you Saturday. I don't have anything I want to talk to you about. I'm telling you, you are talking about things you don't know. Talking on another man who doesn't know you is weak. Brady Quinn said, well, I didn't see you. Quincy then responded, what's the point? To which then Brady dropped this. How about we massage this conversation and get it to a happy ending? Does that sound satisfactory?
Yeah, that's the nuclear
Which led to
option.
Quincy's final response in this exchange, which was, this the joke you was dying to let fly? We can table the convo until I see you in person. That is the full context of the exchange. Now, you guys can take it.
I thought it was, when you sent it yesterday, I thought that's not real. Someone doctored that.
At first, I thought the last tweet was probably like a fake Brady Quinn account trying to make it look like it was him, but it was him.
It was him.
Yeah.
He really went there.
Yeah.
It devolved quickly because
Yes.
if you go through the timeline, the first salvo, and this is his job, we take shots at guys all the time.
Yeah.
That's what we're paid to do, is tell it how we see it. I get that. You can make the argument, though, that Brady did get personal when he called him a trust fund kid.
Yeah.
That is a character assassination. That's a negative connotation.
Yes.
From there, it escalated to you're a high school chick, and then Brady just went full-on nuclear with the let's massage this conversation to a happy ending.
Yeah.
Like, I was stunned that two grown adults who really should know better than to do this actually did this.
I'm not stunned. We've seen a lot of grown adults.
I know
do a lot
we
of
have.
stupid
I
stuff.
know we have. But I would tell Quincy this: you're accomplished at what you've done, bro. You're a professional, and you've got real cred. I say this about players all the time, and he kind of goes into that boat. Just tune out that nonsense. People are going to take shots. It's just inevitable. It doesn't. You don't have to respond to it and come down to that level. Just let it go and just coach up your quarterback to go out one day and have a great game. And then if you want to say, we'll prove Brady Quinn wrong, let your job, your professionalism, and your guy's performance handle that.
Gee, I know you disagree.
Well, the first thing, there's a lot of semantics involved. The first thing is, I don't agree, and this is a fraternity when it comes to players and other players. You know, the NFL players go through a lot of different things.
That's why it shocked me, G.
Yeah, they go through a lot.
That's why it shocked me.
There's a lot of people who get injured and are trying to fight to get back on the field. There's a lot of people that are permanently injured when you play this game of football. And so I find it very ironic that as a member that played in that elite fraternity, that you would go to that level as to insinuate that this man was just faking it for the money. Now, everybody, you've been in the locker room.
That's a character assassination.
That's saying that you not honest. That's saying that you weak. That's saying that you lazy. That's saying that you don't care about your teammates. That's it. Like, you don't get to that level by being lazy. You don't get to that level to do that. So I felt like you commenting on another player, especially at the quarterback position, is egregious. Find me where Peyton Manning is going out criticizing Tom Brady. Find Tom Brady going out criticizing Joe Brees. It just doesn't happen. So I didn't like that part. The second part I didn't like, and I was upset about, you know, when I heard it, is he's talking about it being a trust fund baby. Now, let's be clear. If you don't know what Deshaun Watson's upbringing is, his mother raised 4 children, a single parent, multiple jobs, and she had to do that all while fighting tongue cancer. She had to have her tongue removed because she had cancer, and she still went to work on them 2 jobs, raised her 4 kids by herself, and they came from a poor rural area. And you talk about trust fund? See, my problem is you just looking at the 230. And here's how I know you got a little bit of jealousy in that. You said 230 as in referencing Powerball.
Right. Yep.
He thinks Deshaun Watson hit the Powerball. To him, it's so much money. I looked up his contract. When he played for the Browns, he made about $9 million. That's life-changing money to some people.
He stole $9 million.
And that's the third thing. Brady Quinn, when was you an Iron Man? I'm confused, Brady. You went through injuries. You missed the 2008 season with a fractured pinky finger. Now, guess what? Nobody in the media was like, oh, we're going to make fun of the fact your pinky hurts. No one did that. We took it for what it was. You got back on the field the next year. It didn't work out in Cleveland. At the end of the day, I have a problem with people that look at a stack of money and then they feel like they could just talk about certain things because they wish they had that bag. To be truthful, I don't understand where we are as men. Where I came from, you want to see every single man be able to take care of his family. Listen, we laugh at Jay all the time because we be like, oh, Jay got the huge bag. Jay worked his ass off to get there. He put that work in. I'm not going to insinuate that this man got here just by osmosis. And I want everybody to produce and go to the next level and be able to take care of their children. You don't think Deshaun Watson and that $230 million ain't taking care of numerous people? Yes, it's taking care of those people. My thing is this, and about the massage thing, and we'll get to the last one because I don't want to be long-winded. You better than that, Brady Quinn. You got a wife and daughters.
I think so too.
You better than that. And here's what I'm going to say. If you really, a lot of people believe in coming out against sexual assault members and people who have been sexually assaulted, and you was upset at Deshaun Watson because of the allegations. I'm starting to rethink that, because if you were so thrown back by the allegations and you don't like him, why would you then put this message out that in a way makes light of sexual assault? How about this, right? You got mothers, you got fathers, you got daughters. What if that was one of your kids that came out and said they alleged that? And I'm putting up tweets talking about ha ha ha. If that's the first thing you want to talk about is the joke that everybody seems to be wanting to talk about, how much do you care about sexual assault because you're making light of it in your tweets and you couldn't wait to say it? So my thing is this. I've been talking a long time, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to say nothing. And I've caught myself sometimes when you critique people. When you critique somebody, talk about what they do in the field. Talk about their play. But don't talk about nobody's character. Don't talk about nobody's family, and leave that off, because people be wanting to really come see you about that stuff. And he's better than that anyway. He should know that.
I agree with the part that he's better than that. I think he's very good at his job. Brady Quinn is very good at his job, and I'm not alone in that feeling. There are a lot of television executives that think he is, and I just thought that was below him to go there.
This is fascinating, guys, and this tells you Brady Quinn is exposed. He's exposed here. This is huge, Pete Bush. Last year, after I don't know if it was a Monday night game, it was I think it was a Monday, I don't know, it doesn't matter. It was a night game last year. Zach Wilson was playing for the Jets. Zach Wilson played a terrible game. Booger McFarland, who we all know is an analyst, also on ESPN, made a comment. You folks may remember that after this game, Zach Wilson said he didn't feel he played a terrible game in this game, and he said he didn't feel as though he let the Jets let down the Jets defense after scoring just 3 points against New England. So he played terribly. The Jets only scored 3 points, and he didn't take any blame for himself publicly. Something Deshaun Watson. It wasn't like Deshaun Watson said, "Well, we're losing because of somebody else." He's never said
I
anything
remember
like
that comment.
Remember that Zach Wilson
He
did
took
that.
a lot of heat for it.
Yes, and one of the guys that gave him heat was Booger McFarland. And one of the things Booger McFarland said was he hasn't accepted accountability for his play because, quote, he grew up with a lot of money. Kind of similar to what Brady Quinn said. And people were critical, rightly so, of Booger McFarland for bringing up Zach Wilson growing up with a lot of money. We'd all agree with that, right?
I think that's an unfair comment. That
One of the people who was critical of Booger McFarland bringing up Zach Wilson's money, Brady Quinn.
Yeah.
Brady Quinn said, quote, about Zach McFarland, talking about Zach Wilson
Booger McFarland.
bringing up his money, Booger McFarland.
Yeah.
Brady Quinn said, quote, the entire argument is so stupid. It was one of the dumbest things I've heard on air. And that's saying something because Booger was on Monday Night Football and he said a lot of dumb stuff during that period of time.
Wow.
So last year, Brady Quinn said Booger McFarland said one of the dumbest things ever for saying Zach Wilson is basically the same thing that Brady Quinn called Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
I
think the difference is Booger's comment was he's soft because of his upbringing. He didn't have to work hard for anything. And Brady came from from means. I'm not sure that his family was wealthy, but he certainly lived a more privileged life than some that follow that path.
Yes.
And I think he may have looked at Booger's comments as an attack on anybody who's come through the ranks of college and into the NFL if they weren't hungry on the street.
So then what? Well, and that's a fair criticism.
And I'm not making an excuse for that.
No, I know, but that is actually a more reasonable criticism that a guy who grew up with money is less likely to be hungry for money.
I would totally agree with that because Deshaun earned his.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so for Brady Quinn just a year ago to say it's stupid for Booger McFarland to bring up where his money came from, and then Brady Quinn did the exact same thing.
Essentially,
and I said, well, he's a trust fund kid.
Yeah.
Well, when somebody else called Zach Wilson a trust fund kid, a much worse and less accomplished quarterback than Deshaun Watson, who was not dealing with an injury last year. He just wasn't any good.
Yeah.
He had a problem with it. But he had no problem saying the same thing about a more proven quarterback who's injured.
And earned his money.
Yes.
He's earned his money.
I wonder why.
And you know why? It comes back to $230 million.
Yeah, that people have a big problem with that.
They have, because it is such an for so many people, that's so much money, even to really rich people, that they automatically inside of they just chest in their heart. They have to, it just, 230, and it just kind of hits you. And you jump back a little bit.
And it's the highest, too.
And
I think that's the distinction.
And so my thing was, when I look at Brady Quinn, and here's another thing. This ain't the first time he been out of pocket. This guy was the same dude that came on air before the draft and said C.J. Stroud was falling in the draft because he didn't go to the Manning camp. He said he ghosted him. Yeah, and C.J. ghosted. The Mannings are royalty, and you just can't do that, or you're gonna fall down.
You got to kiss the ring.
And you know what? Ryan Clark said this. Shout out to Ryan Clark for doing the homework. He said, "Oh no. See, I went and I talked to C.J. Stroud and the Mannings. And that's unequivocally false. He never said he was going to go to that camp. He wasn't getting paid to come do it. And he never committed to doing that. So you saying that 2 to 3 weeks before somebody's biggest day of their life, how many times have we seen people throw comments out there and tank people's draft stock? He should understand that because he was a guy
who fell.
Yeah. You were a guy that fell to
famously fell.
Famously fell. So why would you do that? And you know good and well how it feels to be on that side of the table.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I don't like it.
I like to find solutions. I hate when guys are going at it. It makes me uncomfortable. I know it's part of the world, but I think the world would be a better place if people got together and discussed their disagreements face to face instead of firing bombs and weapons and guns. And in this position, I'm not equating this to war, but you can see how things escalated, and now they're throwing, nuclear haymakers. This is what I would have rather seen. I wish that when Quincy saw that, I understand why he would be upset because he knows Deshaun. He knows what this guy's character is, and somebody just attacked his partner and friend. I get that. What I would have done was I would have sent him a message and said, hey, hit me up on DM. I would have got his digits. I would have called him and said, look, in my view, you don't know the whole story. I want to facilitate it so you know the whole story. Here's Deshaun's number. He's free at 7 o'clock tonight. I think you guys should have a talk. And don't come at him with knives. And I've told Deshaun, you guys should talk this out so you have a better understanding of what he's going through. Because let's face it, we're guilty of the same thing. Mm-hmm. A lot of times we're out here lobbing bombs and we don't know. There's things we don't know. We only know what either the player or the team tells us. There's so much there's more that we don't know than we know. But we're paid to opine. That's what we do. We give our thoughts. I wish that Quincy would handle things more like that. Quincy's got an edge to him. Mm-hmm. If he was working for a team, the first thing the team would tell him, those days are over. You're not Twitter beefing with crazy fans or media members. We don't do that. I think Quincy's above that. I really do. This man is accomplished. What he's done is incredible.
He was working with one of the best. He working with some of the best 32 in the year in the world.
Look at his stable.
Yeah.
Like this guy is accomplished at what he does. He's good. And Brady knows that. Mm-hmm. And Brady has worked his way into a very prominent position in the media. Mm-hmm. He's good too. There's no reason these two should lower themselves to the gutter to throw public jabs at one another when they're not fully informed. Now, if Brady calls Deshaun, has a 45-minute conversation with him, you know what happens the next day on the air? Because what's happening on today's show is he's throwing nuclear bombs at Deshaun Watson and Quincy. Both of them. Mm-hmm. You diffuse all that, and I love this saying, you catch more flies with honey than vinegar.
Yeah.
You call Quincy, they have a 45-minute conversation. You know how today's show starts? Brady saying, I'm going to start today's show with an apology. I went off yesterday, and it was a little misguided. I didn't have all the facts. I only had what the media has been sharing with us, and I was dead wrong. And I had a conversation with Deshaun Watson yesterday. And I now have all the facts. So now you should listen to what I say. This man's not stealing anybody's money. This man wants to be on the football field. Bring those two together and turn it into a positive instead of where we are now.
In the end,
no one looks good today.
Yes, that would have been the best case scenario. I understand why Quincy Avery got upset. I don't really. If I were him, I probably wouldn't have done it that way. But I'm kind of.
No, I know you wouldn't.
I fly off the seat of my pants, so maybe I would have. But I don't think,
agree that would be a better outcome?
Yes, it would. I still don't think he said anything. He didn't say, like Brady Quinn clearly crossed the line multiple times.
I agree.
In his comments.
I agree.
Like, we've been critical of players. I've probably crossed the line a time or two, but I've never accused a player of pretending to be injured, ever.
Something
and for a former player, and he's the second one because
Hanford
Dixon did it.
And I love Hanford Dixon, but I hate that he said that. I hate it.
And here, I kind of get his story all the time, man. And sometimes you don't even come back from this. One of the most hurtful things that you can have is when you have a bunch of injuries and you're trying to get back on the field, and you've been gone for so long, what happens is you become alienated from the team because you're just working to get back. You're not practicing. You got to stay after. You're not seeing the guys. And when somebody insinuates, either on your team or in the media, insinuates that you don't want to play and you're faking it, it goes to, like, I've had that happen before. And I'm sitting here telling people, like, why would I want to go to college? I need to get a scholarship. I ain't going to college if I'm not doing it this way. Why would I say I don't want to play? That's the most hurtful thing you can say to a player, because don't you understand that people be giving they body, like, people get hurt and their bodies are done the rest of their lives.
It's happened.
And so why would you get in somebody's head and say, oh, well, I'm going to use my head rationality to prove that I don't think you tough enough to play. And by the way, which is it, people? Which is it? And I know you don't want to talk about Baker Mayfield, but which is it? Because when Baker Mayfield went out there and he was hurt, everybody said he should have sat. Everybody said he should have sat. Everybody. Now you said, well, at least he had guts to go out there and play terribly. Now you want Deshaun Watson to do the same.
Make the same mistake.
Which is it? And fans, we get it. They only care about the results and they only care about what's going on in the field. But media members have to be a little more cognizant, especially the ones that play.
I agree. I hate to see it. Hopefully they settle things out and everybody gets on the same page. Mikey?
We'll get right back to this in literally 1 second, but we're doing a rare afternoon edition of Behind the Glass today. Myself, Anthony, and Earl going around 3:15, 3:30 to avoid interfering with the Cavs game. The Cavs open tonight against the Nets. So we're an afternoon Behind the Glass. Make sure you guys tap in, check it out. We'll see you guys this afternoon.
By the way, you said literally 1 second. I would say that was closer to 20 seconds, Mike.
I apologize.
So
I do have one
literally
question for you guys about the Quincy Avery, Brady Quinn situation here. It feels like there is a players' fraternity. And this is, to me, where I think Brady Quinn kind of crossed the line. It's one thing for people without any idea what it takes to be in that position, to take a shot, because you've never been in those shoes.
Yes.
Brady Quinn's been in those exact shoes. And that's, to me, that's where I have the biggest issue. It feels like a line in the sand that shouldn't be crossed for players of a certain people of a certain stature, and especially quarterbacks that have played in the same franchise.
I completely
agree. To me, that's the biggest
It's
issue.
tricky because we want the former players in the media to be honest and be open.
Right.
And Brady Quinn is not afraid to criticize, and that's
No.
good.
Yeah, it
but
is.
you got to be fair about your criticism.
And that's it, Bull.
Yeah.
Like, I want fair criticism.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing. Before you criticize, you do have to make sure that you have a pretty good understanding of where things stand. And I just don't think that all Brady's hearing is what we're hearing, and we're confused.
Right.
And we're immersed in it. We're in the epicenter of that
Yeah.
universe.
Yes.
We hear every little morsel and nugget of news. Brady's hearing the stuff that trickles up to the national level.
Right, yeah.
So he's hearing a fraction of what we're hearing, and we sit here every day and we say, what is the truth?
If he would have gone on there and been, man, this Deshaun Watson thing's been a disaster. He's been terrible so far in Cleveland. I don't know how they're winning right now. They got to get a quarterback. He can't help them.
That's fair.
That's all completely fair.
But when you question a man, I agree with you, G. It's the players' fraternity thing. But when you insinuate that a man is faking an injury, that is a character assassination that cannot be undone.
It just don't, like, that's like one of y'all being sick. And I come on the show, oh, man, Bull ain't sick. I don't know what Bull got going on today.
Yeah. How do you know? Yeah, we don't know.
What? That man might be on his deathbed.
Yeah,
you don't know how. What are you talking about? And my thing with Brady Quinn, you go back to 2008 and you look at Brady Quinn, I would respect his opinion as an analyst. And sometimes I even have to learn this. You don't have to have hot takes. Just give me perspective. Bernie came up here and gave us perspective on what it's like to have a rotator cuff. Brady Quinn in 2008 was under kind of the same microscope. They needed to make a decision on whether it was Derek Anderson, who had a great year in 2007, or whether they're going to get arranged to Brady Quinn, who was a first-round pick. Derek Anderson eventually lost his job. Brady Quinn came in. However, it was at the end of the season, so Brady Quinn had some up games, some down games. Actually, it kind of looked like the first 3 games that Deshaun Watson played this year. Had a really good game. He had a so-so game, and the team won. He had a horrible game and the team got smashed. And then there was another game where it was like, oh, he played his best game. After that happened, he ends up fracturing his finger. He fractures his finger and he continues to try to play through it. He tried to play through it. He says, and this is in Cleveland.com, you can go check it out. He tried to play through it, and it gets worse. So then the fracture turns into he needs to get surgery on a ligament in his throwing hand, in his finger. Now, on the outside looking it in, people will say, how tough is a finger injury? Like, people make fun of stuff like that.
All right, split it up, go play.
Well, it's critical.
Yeah.
It's critical.
Critical.
So I would have enjoyed Brady Quinn saying, hey, let me give you a story.
Yes.
This thing happened to me. And I was in that same situation, and this is what I was going through because I needed to make a decision. The organization wanted to make a decision on whether I was good enough and didn't have enough information. They go into that season, and then you come back, and it's a quarterback competition in 2009. Eventually, it spirals out of the control. Derek Anderson didn't play well. Brady Quinn did play well. And eventually, Brady Quinn was jettisoned to the Chiefs. But the long story short is, I would have enjoyed hearing your insight on that, the rationale, the pressure, the mood you were in, the thought process when you're hurt and you're trying to prove yourself. I would have liked to hear that.
And G, to your point on being hurt or not, we've reached the point in this whole saga where we have legitimate national NFL reporters. Steve, you can take the tag board full here, but guys having to clarify that it's a real injury.
Oh,
I mean, Tom Pelissero tweeted yesterday, and this is a direct quote from Tom Pelissero, as you can see. As mentioned here, Deshaun Watson has a strain of his subscapularis muscle, which causes pain and weakness in the rotator cuff. Quote, it's a real injury that takes time to heal, as if people didn't believe this man was actually hurt.
And by the way,
and it doesn't go away. I mean, it's one of those.
It's the first time I've ever seen an
Think
injury.
about this again,
Someone
guys.
say it's a real
Talk to him,
injury.
Bull.
He's got an injury to his throwing shoulder, okay? The first week after it happened, the week it happened in the Titans game, he didn't leave the game.
Right.
If he was all about, I don't care about playing, he would have left the game.
Sure.
They were winning. He could have left the game. Number two, the following week, even though it looked all week like he wasn't going to play against Baltimore, on all week he's telling everybody.
Well, on Friday he said, "I'm good.
I'm going to play."
Yes.
If he didn't want to play because he's got all this money, why would he have said that?
He would have
made
tapped out right
himself
then.
look worse.
Yes, you're
by
right.
saying that. So that makes no sense. He wanted to play and couldn't. Okay. The next game against San Francisco, we couldn't go. Then this week, it was 100% obvious to anybody with a brain that he was incapable of throwing the ball like he wanted to. And it had been reported that not by him, but by Schefter and whoever, that this is a 4 to 6 week injury at least. Bernie Kosar told us last week that doesn't heal right away. It takes a while for it to heal. And yet, he put himself out there. He looked terrible in those 5 passes, so people like us can crap on him again because he didn't play well.
Never should have been out there.
And he shouldn't have been out there. And meanwhile, this knucklehead is accusing him he doesn't want to play. That's ridiculous.
I think that they have to have a conversation. I think that Deshaun needs to have a conversation with Brady, and not I'm going to kick your ass conversation. Just an enlightening conversation. Let me enlighten you on things you don't know that might change your mind, because of all people, you've been where I'm standing, in the same spot with the same franchise.
With the same crazy fan base.
Right. And by the way, if you do compare the injuries, on the uninformed fan scale, the pinky rates way below the throwing shoulder.
Damn right.
I mean, now look, I'm not saying that all pinky injuries are less severe than a shoulder injury, but to the uninformed mind and people that we don't know exactly all the details, we're like, come on, you're right. It's your pinky. Sack up and go throw the ball.
Yeah.
And I think it's a travesty. Think about this. Deshaun Watson, instead of having his general manager and his coach be on messaging, he has to depend on Tom Pelissero to come out and say this is actually a thing and tamp down some of these fires.
Why can't
Stefanski do that?
Why
It's
isn't
weird.
the team doing that?
Why can't
Because
Barry say that?